Starborn, remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not be afraid of the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. If you've been looking at our website, starborninstitute.org, you would already know that the title of tonight's show is Back to Basics. And that is because there is a fabulous grand trine among the healing water signs. And since yesterday was the 4th of July, I hope that you're having a wonderful holiday right now, and maybe even taking a little extra vacation time. Because actually today the sun is at 13 degrees of Cancer, and that is the exact degree of the United States sun sign. And it is trining Jupiter in Scorpio, also at 13 degrees, and it's also trining Neptune in Pisces at 16 degrees. So this wonderful grand trine is pretty close and exact, particularly between the sun and Jupiter. So all of us can be thinking of the things that Cancer rules, home and family, and maybe having some good summer fun right now. And also Cancer rules manual labor, and it rules real estate. So some people could be thinking about moving. And it rules anything that you do with your hands. And so Cancers are very good with their hands, and it rules agriculture, so they like to grow food or cook food. They're really good cooks. And it also rules mining. And Cancer rules thrift. So there is a saying that Cancers always have enough for the day and the way. And that is because Cancer rules recycling. So in a Cancer's home, there are little things that are saved in order to be reused in some way, and they're perfectly happy doing that. And so this can be a time when all of us are concentrating sort of on the basics right now in our everyday life, which is wonderful, because this is a time when there are also 5 retrograde planets. That means that half of the planets in the heavens are all going backward. And that is an indication that we have to redo something, or we have to go back and finish something, or tie up a few loose ends, or we simply have to return to a more traditional standard, particularly in our everyday life. And that can be in order to make our lives a little simpler and easier. And that can also occur in our career or in a business setting, because those 5 retrograde planets are only in 1/2 of your chart. In other words, the way that they're lined up with Jupiter in Scorpio, Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn, Mars in Aquarius, and Neptune in Pisces, they're covering about 1/2 of your chart, or an area that's about 1/2 of your life activities. And it's that area, or those areas, that need to be redone or need to be simplified. And that is why, even in our business and careers, we may want to return to a more courteous and respectful way of interacting with each other, somewhat like the way we learned as children, sort of to say please and thank you, and to respect our parents and our teachers. Well, there are actually some people in the world right now who are adults that seem to have forgotten the lessons that they learned as a child, because we have people that are not being as kind and courteous to each other as they could be. And that simply raises a lot of tension and pressure on all of us. And so in order to have a simpler way of life, maybe we just really need to return to a more normal standard and get back to the basics. And that's because that sun at 13 degrees of Cancer, which is a critical degree, which means it's a lot stronger at that degree than it could be in other degrees in the sign, is exactly trine Jupiter at 13 degrees of Scorpio. And Scorpio rules justice and survival. So the very survival of our country, which is what the sun in Cancer represents, can depend on justice being done, which is what Scorpio represents. And those 2 planets are also trining Neptune in Pisces, which rules things that are hidden behind the scenes. And so justice can be done, as long as the truth is exposed about things that are going on behind the scenes that involve cover-ups or conspiracies. And the reason why justice can be done and we can get back to basics when the truth is revealed is because the bottom line is that a double standard by anyone has to end once and for all. And that's because you can't have it both ways. And I think a lot of people have forgotten that, but I think this is a time when we all need to be reminded about that. And that is because there are some harsh aspects to be overcome as well that can make trouble in our lives, and that's a good reason to go back to basics as well. And that is because today there are 5 planets, but they're in a harsh grand cross in the fixed signs. And remember, fixed signs don't budge. And so Mars in Aquarius, and Aquarius rules the future, is opposing Mercury and Venus in Leo, and those 3 planets are being squared by Uranus in Taurus and by Jupiter in Scorpio. And since that Mars in Aquarius is squaring Uranus in Taurus, and these are 2 malefic planets in very harsh aspect to each other, it simply means that as long as anger or hate or greed or jealousy or envy or even war and aggression is allowed to run rampant and threaten the safety of people all over the world, but particularly here at home, then no one is going to be really safe or secure. And so that really does affect we the people. We are the people of America. This is our country. And that's what our celebration yesterday on the 4th of July is all about. Another harsh aspect is a T-cross in cardinal signs. And that is because that wonderful sun in Cancer today as well is being opposed by Saturn and Pluto, which are both retrograde in Capricorn. And all 3 of those planets are being squared by the moon in Aries today. So that can set up some harsh challenges as well, because it can be that people who are entrenched and want to make a power play in large corporations or government organizations can be encouraging distractions, and they can be causing confusion as a strong-arm tactic to maintain their supremacy over we the people. And that isn't the way we work. We all love freedom and independence. That's what makes us Americans. And so that is the reason that all of us have to get back to basics, to a more courteous and respectful way of not only just treating each other, but treating people and organizations in business or in our communities as well. Because, you know, it's important to remember the things you learned as a child, to be polite and to say please and thank you and to appreciate others. And one thing that I learned a long time ago is an echo of a saying that was on a church sign. And that saying was, never be too busy to be kind. And I wish that on our 4th of July holiday right now that we would all take that to heart and remember that a little kindness can go a long way. And I hope that everyone remembers that as we get back to basics right now, due to all the challenges that we're now facing. Okay, what does that mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Well, Aries, there's a lot of light on you today because the moon is in your sign. It's sort of taking a little bit of a beating though, so you may be sort of caught in a quandary or confused or undecided about something right now that could involve a power play by other people, or that could involve some home or real estate or family matter, because Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn are squaring your sun, and so is that magnificent sun in Cancer today, which is squaring the moon in your sign. When the sun and the moon square or oppose each other, that is a sign of indecision or confusion. Okay, so things might not be perfect in your life, Aries, but you are very popular. And that is because that moon in your sign today is being beautifully trined by Mercury and Venus in Leo. And so that means you're probably going to get some help in solving some of your problems. And if you want to get back to basics and do things in a more traditional and normal way, there are going to be nice people around that can advise you or help you, which is good. So enjoy your popularity, and I hope that you do reach out and ask for help from your friends, because they'll be happy to do that. They'll be happy to assist you in any way right now. Lucky you. Okay, what does it mean to a Taurus? Well, Taurus, this is a time when you can certainly benefit from the fact that Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn are trining your sun. They're going to be doing that for 2 years. So they're trining that volatile Uranus in Taurus, which, in your sign, which is a very good aspect. It means your long-term plans or goals can be reaching some sort of completion, or you can at least see how to achieve those goals, which is good, and that will probably help you. And in fact, if there is a more return to basics now, and there is some change in management or change in budgets in an organization that you work for, you could benefit from that actually. You might have a little more to do, but you could still benefit, and that would help your long-term goals as well. However, yours is one of the signs that is a fixed sign, and so that simply means that Mars in Aquarius is squaring Uranus in your sign, which is an element of danger. And so this is a time when you really need to try to guard your own safety, Taurus, because something could come at you real quickly, and there also could be people around who are jealous or really aggressive. And you need to stay away from those people right now, Taurus, because they could really threaten your future. And then Mercury and Venus, your own ruler in Leo, are squaring your sun, and that simply means that perhaps there are a lot of other people's needs that could be rather costly right now, and so you may have to pay out more money than you were planning on, because Jupiter in Scorpio is also opposing that Uranus in your sign. But overall, I would say that you're on a sort of a steady path. It's just that you remember, everyone has got to try to get back to a more normal, traditional way of doing things. And so don't dig in and be real stubborn right now, Taurus. Don't think you have to fight the whole world. Just keep thinking of those long-term plans that really can work out. And that way, I hope that you are willing to be more amenable to other people's demands right now, because we all need to get along, and we need to try harder to do that, all of us. Okay, what does it mean to a Gemini? Well, Gemini, there aren't any planets in the air signs except that Mars, which is very aggressive right now in Aquarius, and is an indication, since it's caught up in this Grand Cross in fixed signs, that there can be a lot of uncertainty around for a lot of people about their future. And so there can be people that are a little bit desperate, particularly about financial matters right now, and particularly if they've been gambling, they may have lost a lot, and they could be asking you for advice. You really need to ask yourself, Gemini, how much time you want to spend on giving advice to people that are probably not going to listen to it anyway. In other words, the planets that are in the fixed signs are really not going to budge. They're not going to change their attitudes. I mean, I can encourage them to try to be more courteous and respectful, but I don't think they're going to change their opinions about things at the moment, particularly not about financial matters. And so you have to ask yourself how much time you want to spend advising people who are not exactly willing to take your advice. They could listen, but I don't think they're going to take it, Gemini. So this is actually a much better time, since the Sun in Cancer is ahead of your sun sign, and Venus and Mercury, your own ruler in Leo, are sextiling your sun right now. Why don't you spend a little bit more time over this 4th of July holiday with your family and at home, and enjoy the simple pleasures that are so important to all of us. And hopefully you can relax, and that will sort of help you ease the stress in your life as well. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Well, Cancer, The sun is magnificently aspected in your sign today, so happy 4th of July, even though today is the 5th, because it's at the critical 13th degree and is exactly trining Jupiter in Scorpio, also at 13 degrees, which means that the very survival of our country does depend on justice being done and on the revelation of hidden activities behind the scenes. And those revelations will be coming out because there are so many retrograde planets. And when the truth comes out, the bottom line is that a double standard must end. And that's for our safety, the safety of we the people. And I know that since your sign does rule patriotism, Cancer, that you will be quite agreeable to seeing that justice is done, so that we all are operating on the same standards of things that we learned as children, of how to be respectful and courteous to other people, and that it's so important to never be too busy to be kind. And I think that you would certainly, since yours is a very nurturing sign, you would certainly agree with that, Cancer. So I hope that you will go ahead and encourage people to seek the truth. In other words, we don't have to be afraid of the truth coming out. We have to be afraid if it doesn't come out, because then people will still be operating on a double standard. So I hope that you enjoy your holiday and maybe a little vacation time right now, but I also hope that you do your best to see that justice is done for the benefit not just of yourself, but of your country and your loved ones and the children and people that come after you as well. Okay, what does it mean to a Leo? Well, Leo, I think you've got your mind on love and fun. And the reason why is that Venus is in your sign and so is Mercury. And they are both really nicely being trined by that moon in Aries today. So there can be something new on your horizon, Leo, that can be starting out, or you could hear about something new from a friend, and it could be a woman friend because the moon rules women. And it, you know, maybe it's just a party to go to. Maybe it is just something that you could start that could maybe be temporary, but it might be able to help you if you're feeling a little financially squeezed right now, which could be true. And yet yours is a fixed sign, and so even though you can be anticipating some summer fun right now, there are actually 5 planets in fixed signs. So Mercury and Venus in your sign is being harshly opposed by Mars in Aquarius. So your future can be looking a little uncertain, or someone you know, maybe even someone that you had been making plans with, their future can be looking very uncertain. And it all revolves around money, because Uranus in Taurus is squaring your sun sign, and so is Jupiter in Scorpio. And so I think the bottom line, Leo, is that something that you want to do, maybe that you've even been planning on doing, or something you've been sort of counting on, is too expensive. And this is a time when you'll really have to face that. And so I think there is the possibility that you might have to postpone at least one of your plans or a couple of your plans until your budget gets a little healthier. But that's all right. That's not the end of the world. That just means a postponement is probably on your horizon, and that you'll have to maybe save a little bit more money before you can afford something that you've got your heart set on. So good luck with that. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, this is a time when there aren't any harsh aspects to your sun sign except one, and that is the one that's been around for a while. Neptune in Pisces is opposing your sun sign. And that means sooner or later the real truth is going to come out. Neptune is retrograde, and you will find out that someone has been probably omitting important information, and that is a form of deception. And so they've been lying. They've been lying because they haven't been telling you the whole truth. They've only been telling you the good parts. And so you might be disillusioned when you do find out the whole truth, but there could be the possibility that you're almost expecting that as well. I don't know. In the meantime, you could be doing just great right now, and that's because Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn are trining your sun, and so is that Uranus in Taurus. Now, all three of those planets are in very good aspect to your sun sign, but they are in trouble on their own. They're facing harsh aspects. So I don't know how much help they can be to you right now, but if you are wanting to get back to the basics and really just concentrate on your work and your health and your investments, that's the place to be, Virgo, because you can really excel at that. And sooner or later, if you're a little disillusioned when you do learn the truth about somebody, then I think you're just going to have to chalk that up to experience and move on instead. Okay, what does it mean to a Libra? Well, Libra, you could be surrounded by challenges right now. And the reason why is because the moon in Aries is opposing your sun sign. So somebody else wants to go off and do something on their own and may not want to include you on that. And then Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn are squaring your sun sign, which means there can be a problem with leadership in a large organization or a government agency that either wants to use some strong-arm tactics right now, which you wouldn't go for, or they may want to change policies or cut budgets, and that would be a little hard to live with. And then the sun in Cancer is squaring your sun sign, which means there can be a home, a family, or a real estate matter that is pressing. You know, that sun in Cancer is very strong right now. And so you can feel like you don't quite know what decision to make, but you know there's got to be something done. I just don't think it's going to quite happen right now, Libra. So why don't you just enjoy your 4th of July weekend and relax, and maybe the answer will come to you in a little while. But right now, I don't think you can really resolve an issue, but we can still all try to get back to basics and treat each other better. And that's something I know you would really like and approve of. Okay, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Well, Scorpio, this is a time when certainly you can want to see that justice is done, and you can understand that the survival of our country depends on justice being done, since the sun in Cancer at 13 degrees is exactly trine Jupiter in your own sign, also at 13 degrees. It's a perfect trine. And so Jupiter is going to go direct next week. It's retrograde right now, which means there's going to be more justice done as more truth is revealed from these 5 planets that are going retrograde right now. But Jupiter will be the first to go direct next week, and that is actually when we may see some justice being done, as early as next week. And so it's going to sort of fall in line. The more truth that comes out, the more justice will be done. You can be instrumental in helping move that along if you want to, Scorpio, unless you have been involved in something behind the scenes. And when some cover-up or conspiracy does come out, or some secret that you didn't want anyone to know is revealed, then, you know, there could be some sort of financial penalty connected with that. And Pisces rules prisons. It's better than prison, but it could cost you. You could have to pay out if you are involved in anything behind the scenes that is finally revealed. And that's because yours is a fixed sign. There's 5 planets in fixed signs right now that aren't getting along at all. And so that justice may affect you in one way or another, but I hope it's a positive way. Okay, what does it mean to a Sagittarian? Well, Sagittarius, this is a time when I think that you are going to bask in popularity right now. And the reason why is that there are 3 planets in fire signs, and they're all trining your sun, Sagittarius. That's good, because there haven't been that many planets in fire signs for a while. So the moon in Aries is trining your sun, which means a very nice person, perhaps a woman, may want to start something new with you. And it could involve traveling, it could involve education, it could involve something to do with the courts, but I think you'd enjoy it, and you would be invited to do something, which is very nice. And then Mercury and Venus and Leo are also trining your sun, which can make you very popular. So I think you're going to have a real good 4th of July weekend, Sagittarius, and I hope you make the most of it right now, because I think that tensions will ease for you. There's only one planet squaring your sun, and that's Neptune in Pisces, so you can't trust everybody, but you've known that because that planet has been there for a while. So I hope you have a good time. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Well, Capricorn, This is a time, since there is a harsh T-cross in the cardinal signs, when entrenched power players can be making strong-arm tactics in one way or another to either confuse or distract people from learning the truth and seeing that justice is done. And you wouldn't like that, actually, because your sign does rule the 10th house of prestige and career and public reputation and doing things, even if you have to do them over and over again until you get them right, doing things that are honorable and that have integrity. And so I think that since both planets in your sign are retrograde, you need to really try to get back to basics and do things that are more normal for you, because you do generally live by very high standards. The question is, are other people doing that? Because if you're around other people that aren't doing that, you need to rethink things. Remember, those retrograde planets are in one half of all of our charts. And so there are things that have to return to normal or return to basics. And it could involve a family matter, a real estate matter, or even a move. But it could be something that could make you feel more comfortable in the long run. So I hope you consider sort of getting back to normal if you can. And I think that you'd be happier with a simpler lifestyle. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius, this is a time when you are probably feeling alone, as if you're really on your own, and you are. There's no planets in the other air signs to fortify your sign, and Mars is in your sign. Uranus and Taurus is squaring it. Jupiter in Scorpio is squaring it, and Venus and Mercury in Leo are opposing it. You might be feeling as if you can't win right now, Aquarius. You would be exactly right about that. And yet, everyone can win if they return to basics and if they return to the things they learned as a child, which is to be more polite and courteous and treat others the way you would want to be treated. Instead of digging in or being angry or letting your emotions run rampant, try to put yourself in the other person's shoes right now, Aquarius, and do try to reconcile any kind of financial dilemma, because other people have needs too, and they are just as important as your own. So why don't you try to get together with people instead? It could save a lot of fighting. Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Well, Pisces, there aren't any planets squaring or opposing your sun sign where you have Neptune, and it is being beautifully trined by that dominant sun in Cancer and by Jupiter in Scorpio today. And that simply means that, yes, we do need to get back to basics, and the most basic things are how we treat each other. And so this is a time when there can be a lot of healing, and you can be instrumental in that simply by being never too busy to be kind, and by being respectful and courteous to others, and by sort of forgiving and forgetting. If you can try to do that, Pisces, and then also try to meet some long-term goals of yours, then you can make yourself happy and a lot of other people happy as well. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, you can see the show, read our blog, and hear our podcast on our website, starborninstitute.org. Bye.